Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys already know what we're doing, back-to-back episodes for you guys. And so, with that being said, I would just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Justin Batterton, thank you for tuning in, man. I just got off an episode with him. Amazing guy, guys. You got to check him out. And I got another amazing guest for you guys today as well. And so, with that being said, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. And if you know anyone who could benefit from the conversation that we have, do me a favor, share this with them. And, enjoy. Please enjoy. Now, without further ado, I'm bringing on my next guest. Mr. Brandon Moore. Brandon, how you doing, my brother? Thank you for joining.
Hey Tony, man, how are you, man? Thanks for having me, man. I'm very honored, very excited to be on, especially with you. I mean, you are the man. You are the man. I'm very happy to be on with you, brother.
Man, the pleasure is mine, and thank you for that, man. I'm just a squirrel in the world trying to get a nut, man. That's all I'm trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Running like a chicken with my head cut off and trying to see where I end up, man. You just never know, right?
Oh,
I'm definitely looking forward to having this conversation, man. You and I, we click, we're talking on the phone, and you have an amazing story. Now, before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Man, yeah. So my name is Brandon Moore. I am originally from Louisville, Kentucky. By way of, let's just say I married a military woman. So we traveled a little bit. Then we was able to settle back in Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown. Right now, I am the owner of BMotivated LC, which is BMotivated Life Coaching, and also Motivated Minds Consulting LLC. And I also do a lot of not just life coaching, but I do have my own basketball program that I do coach as well. So a lot of, I guess you'd say a lot of mentoring and guidance that is surrounding my life right now, and which I absolutely love. So that's what I'm doing right now. With the exception of my 9-to-5 job, which I am a plant manager right now. So, we stay busy. We're a sports family, obviously a sports family, besides working, coming up with topics and episodes and things like that. I do have my own podcast as well and YouTube channel as well. So, like I said, we stay busy, but it's all in God's work.
Yeah, man, most definitely, man. Thank you for the work that you do. And let's jump into your story a little bit, right? Let's go back. Who was Brandon before you started doing this, right? Because you and I talked. And I was like, holy, oh, what we doing? All right, and we got the chance to go real deep on a lot of this stuff, man. Share your journey with the audience.
Well, I grew up in a household that believed in education, obviously that believed in going to church, and I was a kid that I was there on Wednesday night Bible study, Thursday night youth group time, and you had some on Saturday or Sunday. Then big in education, sports really was it was a backseat in prioritization. Let me say that. It's a backseat to prioritization. So it was all about making the grades, getting through school. If you happen to play sports and be good at it, that's a bonus, right? So there was a period of time where I remember one of my aunties was like, she had told me, man, we were worried about you. We didn't know if you was going to get through high school. Because I mean, I was troubled, but I wasn't in jail troubled. I wasn't. I was just troubled as far as being very, very mischievous and curious. Let me say that. And I mean, I was a typical boy. I was a liar. I stole. I mean, I stole some. Not just some small stuff. I mean, I stole some big stuff, and but I always had people surrounding me. That provided, I guess, some type of, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. You know better, from what they knew. Right now, I will say this. I was very, very strategic in what I allow people to know. And that even started at an early age. And then I got sick. I woke up again. I was on one of my mischievous days. I woke up and was like, I didn't feel like going to school, right? So, what do most kids do? Oh, I don't feel good, and da da da. Well, my parents wasn't going for it, so I put out the coup de grace. Man, my heart hurts. I mean, you told me I pulled out. I pulled it out. I said, man, look, man, my heart hurts. Like, it was funny. It's not sounding right. It hurts. And the but the caveat to that, Tony, is that it actually did. Like, there was actually something going on, and my dad, now mind you, he's a former Marine, he was a correction officer. He's the only man I know that would have a stethoscope that's not a doctor.
Oh, well, no, yeah, you got to be careful with that one. That hurt you.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I kept complaining about it. Right? I kept complaining about it, and he came in and listened to him. It was crazy. It was crazy. He listened to me and was like, man, it sounds like sandpaper or something. I was like, oh, okay. I guess it's me that I ain't going to school, right? Now that was my mindset.
Right.
So he took me right to the hospital. I mean, we went right to the emergency room, and then that's when that part of my adolescent life changed. I found out that as most, they always say your heart is bigger for enlarged for your size, and then they came back and said I had walking pneumonia, and then check this out, Tony. Then they said I had what they call pericarditis, which is fluid around the heart. Now, mind you, I had no, I guess, what you would figure would be a symptom up until this point. Now, mind you, I want to say I'm about 14 years old at this point. 14, 15 years old. Yeah, because it happened when I was in the 8th grade. It happened, I was grade B, a freshman. And man, so, I'm like, what does that even mean? Right. And so I had no symptoms. And man, I'll never forget. We saw the doctor, got diagnosed, all that type stuff, and they tried to treat it with an antibiotic because they didn't know a lot about it. And my body had an adverse reaction to it. Man, here's the funny thing. I remember at our house, I was like a kid. I was swinging on the door, and just our kids just kind of swing on the door or whatever. And I'll never forget, man. The last thing I heard was my mom scream my name, and I woke up and I had hit the coffee table and I'd passed completely out. And we went back to the doctor and was like, that could be the cause of it, as far as that. So that kind of changed my adolescent life, man, because I went through high school. I was still a high school kid, went through high school, and I couldn't play any sports, man. I couldn't do as much as shoot a free throw in my backyard. I mean, it was that bad. And so at that time, I didn't really know the magnitude of what that would do, later on in life. I'm like 14. I can't hoop. I can't play football. Like, it's my life. So from then, man, I just, I did all my doctor's appointments and all that stuff. And then, behind some backs, I did start playing. And then I didn't get on my high school basketball team till I was a junior. And once I got released, I was a junior, and I had to transfer. I transferred schools to do it, and I had a decent little career. Went to college and all that type of stuff, but and then man, from there it was just life. I mean, it was just life, man. I was a late bloomer in a lot, just because it wasn't a lot of my focal point growing up. Seeing a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that still to this day only probably this many people know. And again, remember what I told you, I'm very strategic in what I allow people to know and inside my life. But that pericarditis started a lot of mental change and emotional change without me even knowing it.
Right.
Like, without me even knowing it. Um, I'm very worried of when it starts to become winter. You know, I'm like, I kind of take my not chest pains, but anything that feels a little weird, I take that very, very serious, bundling up, stuff like that. Um, then as I got older, I found out I had mitral valve prolapse, which what that means is like your valves don't close all the way. So when you get, yeah, man. So when you get stressed, so when I get like really, really stressed and anxiety, my start having like chest aches, and it starts to feel like somebody is standing on top of you, right? And maybe like jabbing you a little bit with like a little knife or something like that, right? And it feels like that for like a period of time. And you feel like, I don't know what a heart attack feels like. Thank God. I thank God every day I haven't experienced that. But I would imagine the panic that if you're having a heart attack, that would be like, because that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, oh man, like I'll wake up in a sweat. I'm like, man, what is going on? And I can feel it, and that's every time I go to the doctor for it, they tell me like, okay, what's going on in your life? And I'm like, oh, well, I got this, I got that, I'm working, I got this, I got that. And they're like, yeah, you got to reduce your stress. That's really what they tell me. You got to reduce your stress. Um, so yeah, so it's been a lot, and that's just early part of life though. Like that, look, tell me, like that's like post, that's like post children, or I'm sorry, that's pre-children, that's pre-wife, that's pre-moving, that's pre-jobs, like all of that is before I really got situated in life in general, in life, period.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think brought that on? Right? You know what I'm saying? Because I know that for a lot of us, right? You know what I'm saying? And I love the fact that you said that you was very strategic about it. I can relate to that. We talked about it. I was
Right.
like, yeah, I lived a double life and no one even knew, right? Not even
Yeah.
my own mom. And I was doing it right in her household at an early age, right? And and it was crazy because I had people try to tell on me, but my mom never believed them. That was the whole thing. Like people were like, your son is over there selling dope, right? Your son is over there, what I'm saying, selling guns, right? Your son is over there fighting every doggone body, right? Oh, not my boy, because I'm a straight A student in school, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't get in no trouble. What are you talking about? I'm straight A student. I'm very respectful. I'm the kid that gets up on the weekends and go take out the elderly's trash,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm the kid that go around to everybody's house and mow their lawns for free because my mama told me you better not ask for no money, but you
Right.
better go there and cut that grass, right? I'm
Right.
that kid, and on the whole time I'm like, yeah, well, mama don't know. I ain't asking for money, but I'm making some money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was never the flashy kid, so I never bought expensive things, or what I'm saying, I still wore hand-me-down clothes. You know what I'm saying? I still went over to grandma's house, all of that stuff, right? But the guys on the street, they were like, man, my mom was not hearing it. And I used to look at her and go, you snitching on me.
Right. Right.
You do realize when my mama walk away, I'm gonna get you, right? Miss D. I was like, no. She already don't believe you. So if you keep messing with her, she is gonna tell me to punch you out. You know that, right?
Right.
You know my mama
Yeah.
don't play.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what brought it on, man? What made you that way? You know what I'm saying? Or it kind of guided you in that way.
I just, man, I just think, I'll say this: as I got older, and I kind of think about that stuff, like I'm way more transparent now. Like, and I think part of that was because, I like growing up, I was a kid that was picked on. I was joked on. You know what I'm saying? I was joked on. Um, I mean, a lot of stuff, right? Like, so, I mean, they would, I had a stuttering impediment, and kids from literally from first grade all the way to literally part of high school And that's before I started to put on, and I wasn't even putting on a lot of muscle, but that was before my body started changing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was always picked on, you know, and I think some of that was judgment. I think it was, and I kind of knew, you know, I kind of knew like what my family stood for, right? So for me, it was kind of like, man, you know, not that I'm doing anything terrible, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm not great at this. Like, I'm gonna get through this the best way that I can, you know, because some of it was I didn't want my family to worry. I didn't want them to think any different of me. And matter of fact, it didn't have anything to do with my peers. It had nothing to do with my peers. It was man, I didn't want them to think a certain way. Now, you know, because again, man, I had chores since I was like 11, 10
Yeah.
maybe. Like, I was very respectful. You know, I mean, I was a kid, but I was respectful for the most part. I mean, you know, so I had things. I didn't do great in school. You know, I didn't do great in school, but I mean, I did okay. I mean, and okay is like, I remember in fifth grade, I believe they passed me because they didn't want me back. I mean, I was, look, man, I was so mischievous. I remember my substitute teacher, Miss Jessie. You know, one day if I see her, I gotta admit this. I remember, man, I didn't like her just for whatever reason. I put chalk dust in her coffee
Oh.
and 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 sat there like it was nothing. Like, you know, everybody going to school. Like, just somebody snitched on me, right? So somebody snitched on me. So I mean, I was that mischievous, man. Like, I was that, man. And you know, a lot of that was judgment. I was searching for like positive. I mean, I just see these other kids, man. They'd have the cool shoes. I mean, you know, they had the Jordans, the nice fit. Now, here's the funny thing. I had very nice stuff as a kid. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But you know, it's that element of envy and jealousy. I think mine hit at an early age, and I think that's something that I mean, even to this day, I can admit I have my struggles with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have my struggles with that. Like, you know, but I don't take anything away from how I grew up, man. I think the way I grew up was great. I mean, as you get older, you're like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. But you know, because when you start having kids, you want to raise them the way you feel is best for you and your household, right?
Right.
So, you know, but I mean, even to this day, man, like I find myself like, my dad adopted me when I was 1 or 2 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't know for the longest. And I didn't know until I was probably, I'm going to say 19, 20 years old. And, you know, to this day, I remember when my mom told me, man, let me tell you how like backwards my mom was. I called my dad and said, man, guess what? Guess who did it right? I called him as if he was going to be that guy. But man, that's great, man. I'm glad you found out, right? Like, that's so as you can tell, like by having a move like that at 1920,
Mm-hmm.
my mind wasn't prioritizing emotion. I wasn't prioritizing like, oh man, this is a big deal for somebody who adopted you. You know what I'm saying? Versus your biological father. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
didn't prioritize that because it never hit on me. I didn't know any kids that were adopted. I didn't know any kids who was being raised by somebody who was not their biological parent. You know what I mean? So it was like it was that caveat of excitement to curiosity to I think that's when I started to be a little bit more open
Mm-hmm.
at that point because I was like, well, you know, and then I found out, you know, that it did bother my dad. Obviously, it would have bothered any man, right? It bothered my dad, but you know, so I my scatteredness, I would say that my scatteredness of the emotional prioritization was off. Like it didn't hit me until I was probably in my 30s, Tony. That I really was like, okay, hold up, man. You gotta start prioritizing
Mm-hmm.
emotions and how to deal with it and how to communicate it to whatever to your respected party, you know. Um, and I think that again allowed me to. I was like, man, I don't want to be strategic and to what I want people to know because I mean it's all a process, man. It's all part of life's process. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to deal with the cards that are given to you, you know. And I had a from financial to going through a custody battle to like my marriage now to my kids. I mean, now it's my thought process now is as me and you have talked is protecting peace. You know, it's finding that peace and being like, okay, it's gonna be rough for a second, but I'm gonna have more peace in the long run than roughness in the short term.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thought process now. You know, I'm 42 years old, and I'm 42 years old, man, and I've had we've we've moved as a family. I went without a job for 3.5, 4 years when COVID hit. When that happened, man, let me tell you something. And me and you spoke on this, man. Let me tell you something. When that happened, Tony, man, I was talked about. I was ridiculed. My character was questioned. I mean, everything, like, dude, everything. And I had people telling me what I should do. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. You should do this. You should do that. You should do this. And I had people question, man, is he too good for this? Had like close people. Now, we're not talking like your associates, right? We're not talking that level. We're talking close people, you know, and it's like, I got to sit there and take that, right? I got to sit there and take it because I'm like, because of the position I was in, I wasn't in a position where I could just run away. Like I had to sit there and take it and say, okay, all right, I'm listening to it. And I had to respond to it. No, that's not what I'm doing. No, that's not what I'm doing. You know, even, you know, so it's like, because, man, I remember I went for a job, man. I'm interviewing, killing this interview. This lady looks at me and says, oh, I see you have 2 master's degrees. It's like, yes, ma'am, I do. And I was like, hey, I just received my green belt in Six Sigma. I'm da 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 da. And she said, okay. She looked at me and she said, well, the position that they're hiring, we can't afford to pay you. I said, okay. And I said, ma'am, I'm willing to take a pay cut. What I just need a job. Like I'm, you know what I'm saying? At this point, I just need a job.
Yeah.
She looked at me and she said, well, I can't submit yourself to corporate because that means they'll get rid of me and put you in this position.
Oh, damn.
But then I'm gonna hit you with something. I'm gonna hit you with something. Where we used to live at, there was like a Kroger, like a few miles down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it got to a point, man, where me and my wife, we were like just not doing well just because I have a job. It was pressure. She's carrying the load. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of talk about me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a lot of talk about, because I would say this, prior to me and my wife, I would have to say that my wife's life was pretty smooth sailing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know a lot of people can kind of speak on it. It was smooth sailing. And I mean smooth sailing from surface. Like, right, just looking at the surface of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not probably the ideal person that people would probably think like, oh, she married him or she's with him.
Yeah.
Right. And mind you, my wife's family, basketball family, they know a lot of people. The idealistic person would probably be attorney, professional sports player, something like that, right? So,
Right.
and that's what I thought. So let me say that's what I thought. So, man, I remember, man, it's argument. I remember, man, I went to Kroger and they had like a little table out and it was like, hey, we're hiring and da da da. So I went up to the hiring manager and I said, hey, looking to get like a third shift, something, stock your shelves or full boxes or something. So he's like, oh, yeah. Go ahead and fill out the application. Now, mind you, I'm going to tell you how I went dressed. I just went dressed in a t-shirt and some basketball shorts. So the guy says, okay, fill out the application. I didn't fill out the education part on purpose.
Yeah.
So we start talking. And he starts asking me questions. He was like, hey, do you have a GED or anything like that? I said, yeah. I said, I got high school. He's like, do you have anything else? And again, the emotional prioritization of information, I was just kind of like, yeah, I got some college. And he's like, well, we'll check. So, so I came clean.
Yeah.
Man looked at me and said, you're not going to stay long. So I can't hire you. And I said, man, look, right now, I don't know how long I'm going to stay. I just need something to bring in something. So it was like the people that were questioning don't know that.
Right.
The people that were judging don't know that. The people that were going through all that don't know that, man. I had over 200 no's. Whether it's online or whatever, I had 200. And then it was like, oh, change your resume, change this, change your resume, change this, change this, change this. And it's like, look, man, like I'm doing all that stuff. But right now, these people are not hiring. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these people are not hiring. Like either I don't know what it is. And and that was probably one of the few times that I kept God out of it. Because I was like, I don't know what it is, because if God really wanted me to have a job, I'd have a job. And obviously, I don't know what is going on. Like that was my thought process. I don't know what's going on. Like, why would God have me go through something like this? I got a family.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thing. Like I got a family, and I'm going through this.
Mm.
I'm being talked about, God.
Yeah.
By people that are close to me. But then, you know what? What happened with Jesus?
Oh yeah, they talk about it. Hey, we don't even hold a camera. If they talk about him, they're gonna do us even dirtier.
Like, what happened to Jesus? Like, people defied him. That was in his camp.
Yeah.
That was closest to him. So then it's like, as I matured, I had to be like, okay, you know what? Who am I to think like I can't go through something? Because whatever I'm going through, God is building me for. And I remember my mom was telling me that. My mom literally told me that, was like, you are being built for something. You don't know what it is, but you are being built for something. And I mean, it was just like, I mean, you talking, man. We talked about divorce, all that stuff. I didn't really realize how impactful finances were when it came to a marriage. Because I tell you this, when my parents were married as a kid, I didn't hear a lot about it. Only thing you heard as a kid is, if you can save, or if that. So I didn't really know the impact of it.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I just thought, okay, all right, well, you treat somebody nice. Obviously, you're respectful. You keep God first. You don't forget about them. You go on dates. All the romantic stuff.
Yeah.
And never really took into account of the financial liability that there is in marriages, right? And so it's like now you have a person who's been married for some years that is still trying to overcome that. And let alone, it's like you finally get a position You finally get a position. Me and you talk about this. Finally get a position I've been waiting on. And I'm not gonna say waiting. I'm gonna say like I knew it was my time. Like once COVID started slowing down, I started to get some really good. I had some really good positions, and you know, I will say I started working with my wife. She was in finance. Started working with her and really started seeing things from a different perspective. And then once that subsided, I knew like, hey, I gotta get my own, not in a separatism way, but we need something else to account. Yeah, we're making sure everything stays in house, but we also need that extra. We need somebody else bringing in, that extra.
Right.
And so, and then we went through this whole housing thing, and which was, a struggle beyond a struggle. And then I become a plant manager, and I'm in an explosion.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you really sit back, and the first thing I think about is not me. I think about this journey that I was on with my family and my wife.
Right.
And it's like, man, you are literally, you could be here today, gone tomorrow. And all this stuff that's built up in you sits there.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, as me and you talk, man, the end of this year has been, I would say, one for the ages in regards of myself personally, professionally, as well, and my wife. I mean, this year has been a year. I would say a year of sculpting.
That's a great way to look at it.
You know
That's
what I mean? It's been a
now,
year of sculpting.
I want to ask a question because you and I did talk about this, right? I want the audience to understand that when you got into that explosion, you and your wife had separated, during the separation, correct?
Yep.
And so that is amazing because that was the first person that you thought about when it happened.
Oh, absolutely.
You need to call her and let her know what was going on, right? How did she take the news? You know what I'm saying? Because look, and the reason why I asked, and I already know the answer. I just want you to share with the audience. And the reason why I asked is because so many people that I've met that have gone through the relationships, have separated and things like that, they never really come back, right? Or the relationship that they have is not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's and I've seen the damage that it does on that it has done on all ends, like even with the children, if there's children involved, you know what I'm saying? And there was a quote, I'm gonna quote this. They said, no matter what happens, if you stay, it hurts, and if you leave, it hurts. No matter what happens.
Yeah.
But you have to choose your hurt.
Yes.
Right. And so, and that's why I revert that question back to you and ask, how did she take that, right? Because I'm trying to get the mental mindset that she's in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So remember, like, yeah, we were. So I got the position end of August 22nd. So I was staying with a buddy of mine and moved down here, and we were going back and forth on. Her plan was moving abroad. My plan was we need to get some stability here. We needed, better career that's going to pay more. So we were on two separate pages, and we never could find this. Now, mind you, I'm not equal. I'm still like this because you are never going to be like this. You're always going to have a teeter top, but we were way off. I mean, we were big time way off. And and the environment we were in was not helpful. So let's just say that.
Yeah.
So when I moved down here, stay with a buddy of mine, we still talked. Now, obviously, it wasn't as elongated or involved outside of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But we still had conversation. Now, I'll say this. She came down, I want to say that week, beginning of November-ish, first week of November. Came down at that time. I had moved out of my friend's house. I was staying with my dad. And so, we're talking, still separated, but we were talking a little bit more, in depths of, I'm not even gonna call it reconciliation. I'm just gonna say we were just talking in depths of trying to pick which hurt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, which hurt was gonna hurt, but we could correct, or which hurt was gonna hurt, that we were gonna have to be like, nah, we ain't dealing with that. That's kind of where we were, and it was good conversation, stuff like that. So she dropped me off that morning. So that's the crazy thing.
Okay.
I was gonna drive, but she was like, nah, you know what? Let me drop you off because me and the girls can go ride around the city or whatever the case may be. Perfect, no problem. So she drops me off, and that day was, it was a good day. As I told you, it was a good day. It was a rare day. I was like, man, towards the end of the day, I was like, man, let me call her. Let me kind of tell her, she come get me early. Like, what I'm saying? It was that type of day.
Yeah.
So when it happened, man, yeah, the first thing I did was when I got out and got my people accounted for, or tried to, whatever case may be, we got out to the street, and I'm telling everybody else, hey, call your spouse, call your family, call your spouse, call your family. And I had a second where the police was not in my face. The police were not in my face. The fire department wasn't in my face. News people weren't in my face. And I had it to where I called. I called and I was like, hey, babe, hey, I just calling, just let you know there's been an explosion. I'm okay. And man, her face dropped, right? Because she's driving. Now, mind you, here's the funny thing. She's driving. Hey, by all means, we do practice safe driving. Let me put that PSA out there for you.
Yeah. Most definitely.
And she was able to pick up, and here's the crazy thing. Normally, her van has it to where unless she's at a stopping point, she can't pick up. So pay attention to that. Her van typically, if she's not at the stopping point, it takes you not to voicemail, but it allows just a regular phone call.
Yeah.
So she was able to pick up, and I told her she's driving, and she's like, "Oh my God, where are you? I'm coming to get you." And then here's the case: I had to tell her, "You can't come." Like, you can't come. Like, the whole area is shut down. You can't come. She's like, "No, I'm gonna come get you." I'm like, "You cannot come. I'm just calling to let you know." And then as I'm talking to her, Tony, the emotions came because I told her I thought I was gone. Like I told her I thought I was gone. And there was 2 instances I thought I was gonna die. And so I could tell she had a stop point because my little girls were in the back, and they jumped over and was like, "Daddy," and I had this. So I got, like, you can't see it, but I got like a mark right here. It's kind of healed great, like a mark right here, and at that point I'm all like, all like bloody, right? So I'm all like bloody. So it looked terrible, right? So, and I got all this dirt and stuff on my face and all this type stuff, man, my clothes and all that. So, yeah. So, and I think once I got home that night, and my oldest daughter, her mom dropped her off over my dad's house. My sister, my nieces, obviously my dad, my wife, my kids were there. My mom wasn't, because let me tell you, me and my mom connect on a different level. My mom is the type where something like that, she wants to see me by herself.
Yeah.
So that next day, my mom calls and says, "Hey, let's do dinner. I gotta see you. Gotta see your face." So I'm in my dad's house. My wife, I pull up. My wife runs outside. She greets me crying, and I think it was the fear of reality happening. Uh, and you're right, man. Some people, when they're separated, even in traumatic events, they don't come back.
Yeah.
But I think I think that for us, I don't think we were either going anywhere. I think it was those, like, our environment was not conducive to our love and our way of living. And that's something that I do talk about. I do talk about is, as much as it may hurt, sometimes you got to change your environment to free up that peace that you've been wanting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it's hard to do, because sometimes that involves friends, families, whatever. But sometimes you have to do that to free up that peace that you've been wanting. And I have clients to this day that will come and have those issues, and the hardest thing is helping them formulating a plan that that will help them do that.
Right. Right.
The easiest thing for me is because I've lived it, I've been there. So for me, when I'm talking to them, I'm talking to them like, hey, look, I got it. I've been there, not even in a narcissistic way of I've been there. It's about me, but in a supportive, empathetic way that's like, hey, I have been there. This is how it worked out for me. So let's figure out some ways that it can work out for you. Um, even not just for family, but even for jobs.
Right.
So um, so yeah, man. So that is, the journey that we're on, and we're still on a journey, because, like,
Yeah.
you never really get to grieve. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you don't
I
you
was,
don't
I was
have
going to ask that.
you don't have that time. And I say that because I understand there are steps to the grieving process.
Right. Yes.
So, and I'm going to contradict something here, and I honestly feel this way with the grieving, is you can't start the process until you can identify what you're grieving over.
That's true. That's very true. Right. And you have no idea of how much of a starting point that is. Right. Because, for one, I'm a men's grief coach. And of course, I had to go through my go through. Right. And I didn't really start grieving till I pinpointed why I was the way I was. Right. And now, don't get me wrong. Like, when I had my son, I was working on becoming a good man. I was working on becoming a good father, right? My relationship with God, all of these different things, right? But I've always carried this dark side with me. Like, if you mess with me, I was going to do something bad to you, type thing,
Uh,
right?
uh,
And I would have no remorse over it neither, right? And so, that was the side of me that I kept under control when I had my son. Now, when I had lost everyone, my starting point, or the point that really cracked open the starting point, was when I was sitting out and I was about ready to take my life. Now, you would think the loss of a son, parents, brother, all of those things is a great place to start. It wasn't, because I was still carrying it, but there was something missing. For the simple fact of, there's this darkness that started coming out, and I wanted to destroy the world. I would have been very determined in making the world feel my pain. But And so that's where it began to make sense. I was like, hold on, I have to figure out Why am I this way? Right? Because I am really violent right now, and I really don't care. So it what I learned to do was that whenever I would go to sleep, I would force myself to dream of my life going backwards, right? And I would have to, and when you're doing this, you have to be truly honest with yourself because your mind will cover up things to make you feel more safe, right? But that's what I used to do every night for a week. I would wake up and I go, oh man, and I would remember what that stopping point was. And if something didn't feel right, I was like, why does this not feel right? And it would begin to uncover itself. Oh, okay, now, okay. And it got to a point to where now I'm in my adolescent years, 7, 6, 5, 4, all of those. Now, mind you, I just blew past the number and I'm gonna have to go back to it because I went right past it. And when I got to a point, I was like, whoa, I was okay then. I was okay here. Let me now start to dream forward from this point on. I already know what it looks like. So now I have to remember every conversation, every situation, every piece of article of clothing that I've ever worn, right? Every piece of food I've ever eaten. And I begin to remember. Then I got the 6. I went, oh, it was this day, this time, this moment. Mom's going to work. We go next door to Miss Gwen's house. My sister's 4 years old. We over at Miss Gwen's house. He-Man is on. I remember it distinctly. I remember the cartoon that was, and I had He-Man action figures. And her son was upstairs. And he said, oh, hey Tony, you want to come upstairs? Well, back then they called me little Bobby after my dad. Hey, little Bobby, you want to come upstairs? I got He-Man's and I got the castle and stuff. And I never have the castle, right? So I was like, all right, cool. And that's when it happened. Right. And then, what I'm saying, that night, I went and told and no one believed me. So just like a lamb being led to a lion, I had to go back the next day. And then it happened again. And then it dawned on me, no one's going to come and protect you. No one believes you. Oh, just like you, I became very mischievous and very strategic, right? I said, okay, since no one's going to believe me, and I know no one's going to come and save me, I'm gonna kill him. Now, mind you, I'm 6. I'm 6 years old. I said, I'm gonna kill him. So I had a little knife, a little fold-up knife, that I stole from a store, along with comic books and stuff like that. And so it's a little fold-up knife. And so I had it in my pocket. So the third day, they take me over there. I told myself, it's not gonna happen again. Not gonna happen again. So when he tried it, I turned around and I stuck him. Yeah. And I looked and I remember in that moment, I felt nothing. And I looked at him. I said, go ahead and scream. Go ahead. I dare you to. I said, now this is the way this is going to work. You're going to leave me alone. You got two options. You can scream. And when they come up here and see me like this and see you like that, they're going to believe me. My family's going to kill you. Or you can pull that out and you would have to deal with that yourself. I'm not pulling that out. You do it. I said, but from this day forth, I do promise you, you'll never touch me again. And if you do, I'll cut your freaking eyes out and I'll feed them to you. I said, and then when I get down, I'm gonna cut your tongue out, and I'm gonna stuff it down your throat. I said, and that's a promise. He never touched me ever since then, but he did have to pull that knife out. And so that's what I mean, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I had to be real honest where everything began. Like you said, like in order to start the grieving process, you first have to figure out where the grieving began. And so doing that little exercise, don't ask me why I did it. I just taught myself how to do it. And I began to do it and I pinpointed and I was like, oh. And so now as a grown man, when I began the grieving process, I realized that was the point I had to start to heal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I had to grow forward. Now that was a process in itself. That was a process in itself because You have to heal the different variations of yourselves. You have to heal the different situations that you've ever been in, all the traumas and things like that, all the bad choices that you've ever made, and even some of the good choices that you've made yourself, right? And so, like holding yourself accountable on so many different levels, knowing and being honest with yourself. Not like I wasn't the best person. Tina, how you doing, my friend? Glad that you could join us today. Tina's another good podcaster as well. She's freaking amazing. I'm glad that she's joining us today. But it was all of those many things right there before I even got to the losses, the real significant ones. Now, mind you, I had already lost over 400 of my friends throughout the
Yeah.
process. I'd
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
been to prison. I've already been shot. I've already had to walk away from two of my daughters. And that's not even including, what I'm saying? That's not even including my parents. That's not even including my younger brother and my son. This was all before then. I had to heal the relationships that I ruined,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. It's
Yeah,
it's
most definitely.
it's that identification of the who, what, when, where, and how,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And for me, when it comes to the grieving process, and I'm gonna take a step further, not even just the grieving process, just with the emotional sustainability process of it, is you have to get to the point where you can identify who, what, when, where, and how. Once you can identify that, then then your process automatically is going to start, because it's like the five whys, right? It's like
Mhm.
the five whys. You ask why five times, typically you can get down to the root cause, right? And that's typically how I go into it when I'm talking to like clients and things like that. Or you listen to some of my episodes, you can see like I'm in my episodes, I'm answering those questions in just conversation form, because I got to get down to the root cause. Like, man, why am I so angry? Every time I get around this person, why am I so angry? Okay, I've already identified the who, right? I've identified the what, my emotion. Like, why am I so angry? Right? And then it's like, well, how? And then you start to identify, oh, well, this happened. Oh, this person said this. Oh, this triggered this. Oh, this did this. And then
Mhm.
you say, okay, now how can I start putting the pieces together to deal with it, to where now, guess what? So now I'm in the grieving process, but part of that grieving process is me separating myself from that type of energy.
Mm.
To where now I know for a fact, if I go to that person or around that area or whatever the case may be, the energy that I don't want is going to come back. So why would
Right.
I keep going back to that same energy?
Right. Right.
And that's where, like, 2025, that's where I'm at. I'm at
Yeah.
there in 2025. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to continue going back to that same energy, because it's not helping me with my purpose.
Right.
It's not helping me and trying to build this foundation of, whether it be financial stability, emotional stability, spiritual stability, mental stability, whatever. It's not helping me at all. So I can't continuously go back to what has caused so much strife in my emotional and my mental. Now, caveat, some of that is whose fault? Some of that's my fault too,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I've made mistakes. So again, to what you said, you got to repair what you've messed up by holding yourself accountable.
Mhm.
And the same time of being able to emotionally prioritize what's there.
Yeah. I mean, Miss Tina said it best. Yes, you need to heal the spaces
Yeah.
of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's a huge thing. Tina's, like I said before, big kudos out to her. She's out there doing some amazing stuff. Podcaster, she does live TikToks and everything. If you get the chance, follow her. And
Yes.
everything, get the chance to get to meet her. She does some amazing stuff. I've had her on the show before. I'm actually going to be on her TikTok, her live TikTok in June, June, I believe.
We'll
Um,
do. We'll
so,
do.
Yeah, definitely connect with her, man. She's doing some amazing stuff. Definitely doing some amazing stuff. But now to go back to what you were saying, though, you know, part of this thing that we often look past, you know what I'm saying? And if we actually took the time to pay attention to it, you know what I'm saying, it can make a world of a difference. It's the reactions versus the response, right? And what I mean by that, there's a quote that I'm gonna tie this into, and the quote says, you know what I'm saying, sometimes, and this can go either which way. I realize that my angels irritate some people's demons,
Oh, wow.
right?
Wow.
Now flip it around. Maybe their angels are irritating your demons. Think about that for a minute, right? That right there, because it can go either which way it goes. And the reason why I say that, because when you're going through these things, you are not the best version of yourself. You are now a very destructive version of yourself. And you may get irritated from someone that's trying to help you, and they may say something that you may not like, which causes an emotional, angry reaction. That's their angels irritating your demons. But see, now you've gotten it to a point now to where, you know what I'm saying, you've gotten everything, you're healing, and you have healed a lot of those different things. And you go around certain people, and now your angels are irritating their demons. So you're playing the reversal role of what they need. It's a healing process, right? And the only reason being is because it's a conflict of interest. Maybe those individuals are so used to the chaos that it is a norm for them. You're on the outside looking in, they're on the inside looking out. They don't see the same things that you see.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
And so now, you know what I'm saying, let's reverse this a little bit, because now your wife has seen something, right? You know what I'm saying, in this moment. And like I said, when we was talking before, you have to choose your hurt of staying or the hurt of going. Either which way it goes, it's going to hurt. But you got to choose one. And so when you finally chose that, you guys chose to stay together, right? Through thick and thin. That's pretty much what that boiled down to.
Yep.
But look
Yep.
at what you had to go through. You had to go through something that really threatened your very existence out of her life in order for her to realize how important you were in her life, and vice versa,
And vice versa. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Because you saw something during that explosion. Like you put it in detail. You were like, dude, it was like a mushroom that pushed me back up against the wall. But there was also someone who didn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
different reality, because you have now you got to tell your wife, like, yeah, such and such didn't make it. Oh crap, that could have been me. Now look at the other side. Oh man, I almost lost you. Right? The kids almost lost you. It's not about us anymore, but it is about us and the importance of who we mean to each other. And that's what I mean. Some couples never come back from that, right? Some couples are like, I don't care. Do what you.
Right.
I've
Right.
been that way before too. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I've told, look, I've told my son's mother, I was like, I don't care what happened to you. If I saw you running down the street and you got hit by 3 buses, I still wouldn't stop. I meant that. I'm not stopping. If I saw you running down the street and you was on fire, I'm not helping you. I'm gonna watch. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get me a bag of popcorn. I'm gonna watch you burn up, and I'm gonna call the people when you stop moving, because I'm gonna make sure you ain't getting back up. You know what I mean? That's all the stuff I had to deal with. No, burn, baby, burn. Yeah, burn, baby, burn. I'm gonna watch it. Okay, and no, I didn't ask for forgiveness for that one. So it should be that way.
But
But
you raise a good point though. Like you raise a good point, because I bet as you were going through that emotion, you would probably just uncovered that identification.
yeah,
You had probably just got to the point where you identified, okay, you know what, I'm I'm here. I've been poured over. I don't know what else to do. It's kind of one of those deals like you had the white flag. You had the white flag in life. You had the white flag in life. Like, hey, I'm waving it, man. Like, help me, because my thought process is this. My thought process is to my son's mother, this is what I am saying. Like, and it's like good point. You had to go through that. You had to go through that. That's all still part of that process. Yeah. That's all still part of that process of that identification of you, the identification of the who, what, when, where, and how.
Well, and the biggest portion of it was, man, is because she's the one who taught me what a narcissist was, right? She's the one who, she was the one female that really stripped me down to the very last core. I mean, destroyed everything that I was, being fired from jobs, being kicked out of places, having my vehicles repossessed, pushed me into homelessness, and for what? For nothing, right? But now I appreciate it. Now, with that being said, the reason why I say what I say about her is because, for one, I can forgive her for what she's done to me, but I will never forget what she's done to me. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Because that was a lot of healing that I had to go through. There was a lot of things, even before my son passed away. You know what I'm saying? Our son passed away. And then the things that she did after he passed away to me as a last jab, right? You know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow, really? You know what I'm saying? Like this, okay. So I had to grow distance from her. And as much as I hate to say it, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel bad for her because I've seen what she's done. And the way that I'm looking at it is, until she's ready to heal and hold herself accountable for the things that she's done, I can no longer be in the space to be able to support her in the things that she's doing. Because for one, this is not my path. This is her path. She has to figure it out. It's not up to me to figure it out for her, because I'm still healing from the fact of that we lost our son. And the fact of that, I would have been there for her. And yet she chose to stab me. Like, so do you ever see that picture where the man is standing over his family, his child, and in his back, he got all of these arrows.
Yeah.
Right? But the child don't know, because the child is happy. The child is playing with daddy, but the daddy is taking all of that. Right? And it's everything that everybody's just been trying to throw at him to protect his child. Well, that's her.
Oof.
And she's the many arrows in my back as I'm hunched over trying to protect our child. And she never saw that. She just knew that she was going to try to destroy me. So, and that's what I mean by that, right? So it's a hell of a metaphor, but that's the way that it was. It was like, wow, right? And so now, you know what I'm saying? You look at your relationship and think about it this way, right? Because we've actually talked about this as well. The many times that you've gotten into it, you know, y'all had arguments and things like that, right? And how many times have you ever gotten mad because she said something to you? Or, you know what I'm saying, you may have needed her and she wasn't there at that moment to be able to do those things because y'all was going through the separation, right? Or how many times, you know what I'm saying, people have come to you and be like, oh man, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna do this for you. And we talked about this. This is about this is for real people. This is about real deep. But how many times have you been there? You know, have people been like, oh man, I'm gonna do this for you, and this another, they don't show up. And you get upset.
Yeah.
Now flip it in reverse. How many times have you been that?
Ooh.
That hits, don't it? How many times have you been that to someone else? And so you got to understand that there's people out there that you've said the same things to, that are thinking the same way that you are about the people who did it to you. But you was too blinded to see that side of it.
Say that
it
again.
Was a personal hit to you.
Yes. Yeah.
You see what I mean? Yeah. It was a personal hit to them, but you didn't understand it until it was a personal hit to you. And you may not have been able to do it. Sometimes life happens. Life be life, right? You didn't mean to do it, but did you ever go back and explain to them that you didn't mean to do it? Or did you
Exactly.
be? It's the same conversation that you've had with your wife and she's had with you. There's an understanding that needs to be had. Just because it's going on with you, right? You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that it's the end all be all for her. It
And
just
I think that's the thing there, that as you grow as an individual, but as you grow as one,
mm-hmm.
you start to take on and you start to believe and you start to sculpt. Remember what I said earlier, that this year was a sculpting year.
Uh-huh.
And now, even in your marriages, you start to sculpt how you want your marriage to play out. Like I'll give you an example of this. We got married on the fly. I told you we got married on the fly. We for the first time, we made a plan to do our best to be out of country within 5 years, 5, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's we just and I mean we just talked about it and was like, all right, that's what we want to do. My wife really wants to go. And I'm like, you know what? Let me stop living in a box. And not just for me, but let me stop boxing in my lovely wife
Mm-hmm.
and my children. She was like, you know what? If that happens, our older kids are gonna be in college, grown. Our younger kids would be at a very good age, and we'll be in a we'll be in a really great place. For the first time, we did that. For the first time. And to me, that showed me like, okay, here we go. So
Yeah.
God has allowed these things to happen. Because I would tell her, she made a comment, and I think I told you this in our conversation. She made a comment one day. Your faith has always been stronger than mine. That's what she told me one day. And I had to sit back and read that and was like, huh, it's supposed to be. Well, in a way, if you're leading your household the right way, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, I think as men, we're men, we strive every day to get to that point. Like we strive every day to get to that point to where we can be considered a good leader, a good provider, a good husband, a good brother, a good dad. Like we strive every day, and the the struggle with that is that, for one, it doesn't always get acknowledged. So as men, we struggle with the lack of acknowledgement there,
Mm-hmm.
because we're like, man, like, I think I'm doing a good job, right? Like,
Right, right.
I think I am. But even with that said, it was like, when she said that, I knew that my journey was on a positive swing. Like, because I'd attempted suicide years ago. I was with my daughter's mom at that time, and things had got real bad, real hectic, real bad. It was just, I guess at that point in life, I just didn't know how much more I could take.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say I just didn't take enough bills. Now, that's not my daughter's mom's fault. That's a choice I made,
Right.
right? But I had to get through that, and I realized that, okay, it's okay to, when we broke up, I was single 5 years, 5 years, and those 5 years, I did everything that I wanted to do, I guess, in the book, like whether to get in trouble, not get in trouble, like
Yeah.
did whatever. Now, when I met my wife, we started dating. I I didn't know what was going to come from, and I say this from my end, I didn't know what was going to come. Like, I didn't know that drama was going to follow. Like, I didn't know that. So for the first few years of our marriage, because we dated for about a year, for a little bit over a year, then we got married. And I would say once we got married, the shift changed when it came to my oldest daughter. Like, the shift started changing. And I didn't realize why. People would tell me, like, oh, that's women, da 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 da, whatever. So we had to go through that. So my wife has suffered a lot of traumatic events as well, just as long as I have. So I think as being a leader in your home, and again, as men, we're striving to get to that point. But I believe that when they see how well you are handling your own grief, it helps them to comfortably handle theirs without the interruption of your marriage's journey, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Right? So if they see you handling yours in a responsible way, in a healthy way, then it gives them the confidence and the reassurance that they can be comfortable in how they handle theirs without the interruption of your marriage's journey. And I think that's what, with the whole grieving thing, I think that's where we're trying to get to. Yeah, I think that's where we're trying to get to.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah.
It's part of it, because throughout the journey, the main point of grieving, as you begin to go through the process, a lot of people like to say acceptance. I don't like that word. Is to get to a place of acknowledgement, acknowledging the world that you're living in, acknowledging your loss, and being able to honor it by respecting those that have been gone, through memories, through conversations, through stories, right? Through how we live our lives. Not truly letting go, but understanding that they're always here with you in your life. They're a significant point of your life. And it's just acknowledging that. Now, the grief will never stop. It's always going to change the older that you get, the situations that you get through, smells, sounds, you know what I'm saying? Everything that happens, that's going to happen, is going to bring up something different. Because you have to remember, you only had one day that changed your life that went upside down. But since the time that these people have been in your life, you got to remember, they've known you their whole entire life. So that's a lifetime of memories, of stories, laughter, songs, all of these different experiences. That doesn't go anywhere. But over a period of time, it becomes less heavier to carry, right? And you may find yourself laughing a little bit more. You may find yourself dancing in the rain, or just saying, man, I miss you. You may hear a lesson or something that was being taught to you that may be beneficial in a conversation that you're having today. Think about that for a minute, because nothing is ever wasted, whether if it's a child or an adult, male or female. No energy is ever wasted. Everyone is there for a particular reason in your life. It may be short, it may be long, but they're still there, right? It's not that somebody wrote something, then erased it out of your life, because sometimes it can feel as if it didn't happen.
Oof.
And in this, in that process, is when you have to determine, you, in this process of grief, when you need to be a student, then be a teacher. And that could change multiple times throughout the day. This is what I mean by acknowledgement. right? You acknowledge these things and you remember it and you honor it. And now that's who you start to become. You become with that wisdom a different version of yourself to be suitable for the people that you're in relationships with, right?
That's true.
Because you know what I'm saying, you always want to leave people better than what you found them. So
Exactly.
how you doing, my brother? Thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining in. So the Terrain is another guy. Terrain, this is Brandon. Brandon, this is Terrain. Terrain is amazing as well.
Awesome.
He
Awesome.
has a podcast as well. He's another strong dude, man. Another strong dude. And you know, had the pleasure of having him on the show. He's had me on his, man. Intelligent. You guys take the time to get to know one another because he's a good dude, right?
Will do.
So yeah, but yeah, man. You know, so it's those baby steps that lead into building the foundation that you're now standing on. Because without those experiences, as much as we would like to say that I really wish I hadn't gone through these things, but it took you to having a near death experience and then going and walking through all of these things, healing, building a platform and saying, I know what I'm supposed to do now. And you had to make those sacrifices, right? I mean, be motivated, LC, you know what I'm saying? Motivated minds consultant, things like that, right? So these things came because you took the time to heal and you found the thing that helped you be of service to other people. And it's the one thing that you've always done, but never really paid attention to because you was too busy listening to what other people were saying about you as you were going through the things that you had to experience. And the only reason why they was talking about you because they had a job to do. That's all. They had a
Man,
job to do.
you you hit that on the head because I go back and I think like, man, you know, had it not, and I will say this, I can say this confidently, had it not been for my wife, I would have not started none of it. And I'll tell you how. Because even through without the job, even us going back and forth, there was moments where she had influential things to say. I mean, yeah, I mean things like, "Hey, you know, you'll get through this,"
Mm-hmm.
and then the words started changing to where it was not just you would get through this, but it was more we would get through this. And I don't even think she knows just years ago how powerful that was for her to for me to hear her say we will get through this. And her ideas was, you know, why don't you start this? Like, why don't you do this? You know,
Oh, did you? He blacked out on me. Come on back, Brandon. Come on back. Well, as we wait for Brandon to get back here, you guys, what do you guys think about that? Put your questions and comments in the comment section. Oh, there he is. So don't you dare disappear on me again.
oh,
I was just talking to the audience and telling them how much I appreciate them, and if they have any questions or comments, put them in there. Put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer those as we go.
can you hear me?
But yeah, yeah, I can definitely hear you. I can definitely hear you. You froze up on me, but I can definitely hear you. There you go.
I talk.
Yeah.
I think I lost you.
Oh no, there you go. I see you.
Uh-uh.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Okay. Can you hear me yet?
Hi, baby.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, shoot. I think I fell off here. There we go.
That's okay. Can you hear me? Sorry, everybody. We are having some technical difficulties. But these things do happen, right? And so hopefully, here he is. Here he is. He's back. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Man, I don't know what happened. I was talking. The next thing I know, I was uh-oh.
Brother, hey, these things happen, man. These things do happen. And, I don't know if you saw the chat. I was like, well, we'll start to wrap it up because I know, like sometimes the technology is technology, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Technology is technology, and sometimes you gotta respect it, or it'll mess with you, you know. So, and with that being said, man, like we can always do another part two, right? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And things like that, which I would love to do that. But most importantly, I want to introduce you to some amazing people as well. You know what I'm saying? These people are doing some amazing things in our communities, man. Powerful, powerful people that I think that will be, be a benefit to you and you of them as
Awesome.
well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they can email me at bmotivatedlc@gmail.com. I'm on let's see. Yeah, I got an Instagram. It's BMotivated for the number 4 life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, listen, I'm all about networking. I'm all about networking to help everybody's platform get bigger so everybody's message can get out there to even if it's just one person that needs to hear it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping today was one of those days, man, where you and we had talked about this weeks ago, where we hope that, man, at least my story, your story, whoever's story, there's one person out there that you have that is a listener. And also, like when I share the YouTube to my platform, that there's gonna be one person that's gonna hear something it's gonna positively change their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be one person, one business, one corporation, whatever, I'm open to come speak. If you need life coaching, like I'm there for
Right.
all of it. And again, email me b the letter B motivated LC@gmail.com. And like I said, man, anybody reach out to me, whatever you need. If you know somebody that needs something, whatever the case may be,
Right.
I'm all for it, man. Tony's a very, very good dude. I'm very blessed to be able to be on your show today.
Man, it's a pleasure, and thank you as well, right? You know what I'm saying? Taking time out to be able to have this conversation with me. I've been waiting to have this conversation. I'm also on your show as well. So
yes,
you got
absolutely.
to check out his. He did send me his information, so his information is in the YouTube. So go check him out. All right, you know what I'm saying. Show him some support. Go check out his YouTube as well, or his podcast. Your podcast on YouTube, right?
Yeah. I got
go check out his channel.
On there,
All that info is down there, man. So you know what I'm saying, go check him out, give him that support, let him know that you've seen him on Tony's show. You guys will see more of him. Now, Brandon, before I let you go, one more last question for you. If you can leave the audience with something, what would you leave them with?
Oh man. Man, I would
question I get everybody with.
Man, yeah, that's a good one. But I would, I'll leave you with this. is there's always eyes watching. And the best thing is to leave a positive impression when those eyes close. That's what I'll leave you with.
I love that.
That's what I leave you with. Because I look up now, I see my two little girls and my wife, my kids, my family. And when their eyes close, if it's a positive impression that I've made, my job here is done. So I'll leave you with that.
Definitely love that. That was some power. That's powerful words, man. For everybody who has been tuning in on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, and also Rumble. We see guys up there. Thank you guys for always supporting me, supporting the channel. And this is your first time tuning in. Do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But also, if you know anybody who can benefit from the conversations that we have, please share this along with them. If you tuned in a little later, go back and check out the rewind, because as soon as we drop this live stream, it is going to be up. Go back and check it out. There's some nuggets being talked about, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. It makes you think about what you need to do in life, right? You know what I'm saying, in order to show up and things like that. And you just never know when the last time that you may see the people that you love. So don't ever take it for granted. With that being said, guys, our main mission here for this podcast and the people that we talk to is to leave you better than what we found you. Right? You know what I'm saying? That has been our mission in life. That's always going to be our mission in life. Your support is what we strive to give you, right? And so with that being said, this is going to finish and conclude this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. We're going to see you guys in the next one, which is going to be tomorrow. Love you guys. Thank you for your support. Have an awesome day. Peace.
Peace.